You are listening to Bold Dreams Held Loosely Coaching Life Edition, the go-to podcast for soul-led coaches, leaders, and healers. My name is Taryn Watts, and I am a Master Certified Coach and the founder of the Mind Rebel Academy, an ICF-accredited coaching school where we train and support people to fully express their purpose through world-class coaching skills. Whether you're a seasoned coach or you are the go-to person for your people, if the heart of a coach beats within you, then these conversations are for you, my friend. We hope they serve you as you continue to create ripples of change that will be felt for generations to come.
Taryn, way back when you were beginning your coaching journey, you were, I'm assuming, initially at a point where you were looking for the right school for you. Can you talk a little bit about what you were looking for in a coaching school? What was important to you at that time, about what kind of training you wanted to have?
Yeah. So I started just coaching. I started having coaching conversations with people, not knowing what coaching was, first of all, and not knowing any framework or having any skill set. I knew that I was really good at talking to people. I also knew that I was a go-to person for the people around me. And so when I discovered that coaching was actually a thing and I could actually become certified at this thing, I started to do my research. There are so many different coaching certifications out there. There are weekend programs, there are years long programs. In my research, I also discovered that there's this governing body called the International Coaching Federation. Looked into that, figured out what that was all about, and realized that if I was going to do this, I want to be trained to the highest standards. I want to be an ICF accredited coach. And so that helped me narrow down my search. And I looked at all sorts of coaching schools, both in Canada, the US. And the great thing about many of these coaching schools is many of them are virtual. And at that time, this was over a decade ago. So virtual school was a little bit different. Virtual schools everywhere now, but it was a little bit different back then. So in my search for coaching schools, many of them felt a little too corporate over here, a little too something over there. And I was looking for a coaching school that like deeply aligned to me. And that was really, really, really important to me. I didn't just want to pick a coaching school that would just give me a certification and that was it. I knew that this was a really important decision. This was my vocation. This is what I wanted to do. And I wanted to be trained really, really well. And I wanted to be trained with a school that I deeply aligned to. So I found a school in Washington State called Invite Change. When I landed on Invite Change, I looked at their curriculum. I knew in my heart this was the school that was going to train me. This was my school. And they were ICF accredited. Their curriculum was like a good, solid curriculum that spanned over, a really good time frame, which is what I wanted. I was working full time, so this needed to fit into my full time schedule. And I didn't want something quick and dirty. I wanted something long, and I wanted to be supported throughout. So those were the things that were really important to me when I was looking for my coaching school.
For me, I never actively was out there looking for coaching schools. For me, it was, you told me what you were doing. And I was like, oh, this sounds really good. I want this. So it's a little different. But do you want to know what I initially knew made your school a good fit? Was because I knew and trusted you. I trusted that there would be room for all of me in this process of learning coaching skills. I knew and trusted that you weren't going to offer a dry curriculum of do's and don'ts and tests and facts and data that I had to just accept. I knew that even though I didn't know the details, I didn't know what coaching really truly was until I was learning it. But what was really important to me is that I had the feeling that all of me, including my feelings, were going to be allowed to be part of the process, that all of me as a human was important, that my feelings were also important, that the learning process was going to hold all of that. So not just ideas and intellectual concepts, but it was really going to allow all of me to be there. And I've never had a learning experience like that. I think back to what school was like, all of school, elementary school, high school, university. And I remember the feeling of you learn something, you study something, you get tested on something. I remember the feeling of wild anxiety of wanting to get really good marks. I want to remember the right thing. I want to give the right answer. The feeling of waiting to get my test back when the teacher was handing out the tests, the feeling of bubbling of anxiety in my belly of like, oh, waiting to see my mark. The experience of learning coaching with you in the Mind Rebel Academy really actually healed some of that educational trauma for me, because the process of learning wasn't about being right or wrong. Like, yes, there were things you were teaching us that I was like, oh yeah, I'm sold. This is what we're learning. But the way we got to learn, the way you gave feedback, though I felt like I was being built up instead of tested and judged. And I think that's one of the things I didn't know necessarily I was looking for, but having experienced it, I think is one of the most valuable things in the entire world. Something I so appreciate that was there from day one when I was a student and continues to be there. That the learning experience is really about building people up, building their skills up, helping them integrate. No one's ever made wrong. No one ever feels like they're failing or doing something wrong. It's just this constant exploration of leaning in, learning, integrating new skills. And I would never want to go back to learning anything in the old way, in the old model. So that's what I am so glad I found with you in the MRA. Hmm.
Thanks,
Miranda,
Michelle.
yeah. Miranda, what were you looking for? Were you looking for a coaching school at any point, or were you more like me?
I was not looking for a coaching school. I didn't know what coaching was. What drew me to the program at the time was the inner work, and how deeply that aligned with all of the growth and expansion that was already on my path, and the exploration into me as a person, Miranda, the coach, not me becoming someone who's a coach and acting like her. And I was really drawn to the awareness tools, to the different elements that led me to get to know myself better. And that got me to explore, how am I showing up in the world, and how important all of these parts of the inner work are for being able to hold space. I wasn't looking for a coaching school. I was drawn to the principles that were being offered in the program. They deeply aligned with my most important values and what was most important to me at the time. I was working part-time. I was a mom. I didn't have a lot of time in my schedule. There was a flexibility in the way that it fit. And I felt like I was being called home. One foot in front of the other, I took the next right step. And every time I did and explored what the Mind Rebel Academy was and what the offering was, I couldn't ignore how deeply aligned it felt with my most, deepest inner knowing. Even when I tried to convince myself, not now, I don't have the space, I had all kinds of excuses, I couldn't turn away. It was like a magnet drawing me in. And so, at the time, it was a 2-part program. And after doing part 1, which was called practitioner, and learning so much about myself and how I show up inside of fear, how I show up when I'm inside of trust, who is the me I want to be, there were little seeds that were being planted all along the way about what a coach was and what coaching was. And I had a thirst for more, and I didn't want it to end. Even though I still didn't know what a coach was, it was my curiosity and my own personal development and who I wanted to be. This felt like the next right step.
I remember that decision point in my own coach training, and just like that decision point of deciding to do this. And, you know, as I was making that choice, I had a dream of one day being an entrepreneur. And, you know, at that time I didn't have children. I wasn't married yet. It was all part of my vision. Part of my dream was to be an entrepreneur, to be a mom who could get her kids on and off the bus every day, and have this thriving coaching business and doing what I absolutely loved. It was the smallest little seed of a dream when I said yes to my coach training. And there was a lot of fear associated with saying yes, because I believe that people are called to coaching. In some way or another, people are called to coaching. And it can be such a vulnerable, tender dream, because when you're called to something, it's like your whole soul, your heart and soul are called to something. It's not something intellectual, it's something so much deeper. And that is vulnerable. It's not just saying, I am saying yes to a coaching school. I'm saying yes to my wildest dreams. So there's a tenderness to that. And I remember at that very tender decision-making point, I had to say to myself, okay, if nothing else comes of this, if my dream of being an entrepreneur and being able to get my kids on and off the bus, having financial freedom, having freedom, you know, in my schedule, doing the work that I want to do in this world, if that doesn't come to fruition, at the end of the day, saying yes to this training, saying yes to learning these skills are going to make me a better wife, a better friend, a better daughter, a better sister, a better mother one day, and ultimately a better version of me. And I had to go through the layers to get to that truth, like that unshakable truth. That's how I said yes. Yes. I'm
Mm.
in. I am all in. I am doing this. I am learning these skills. And, you know, when I think about the skills that we teach in the Mind Rebel Academy, these skills transcend what happens in a coaching conversation with someone. These skills, embodying the mind of a coach, learning coaching skills, changes absolutely everything. It changes the way you see the world. It changes the way you relate to every single human in your world. These coaching skills have made me the mother I am, the partner I am, the friend I am, the leader I am. These are like how to human. This should be called like how to human. If everyone could learn coaching skills, we would wake up to a very different world tomorrow.
Mm. I wholeheartedly agree. I'm very grateful for the vocational path that's opened up through coaching skills. But if I had to take the greatest gift that going through the coach training has actually given me, it is actually related to helping me just function as a human, really and truly. I know I've said this before, but learning how to hold somebody else in a coaching mindset, have a co-creative conversation with them where their wisdom is brought to the surface, helping them find their empowerment to name their own truth, name their own direction, name their own choices. The practice of doing that for others over and over and over and over again taught me how to start doing it for myself, which it's almost like one of those things that you would think people would just know how to do. But I don't think that's true. I did not know how to do that. I did not know how to function as a human who trusted her inner wisdom, made empowered choices for herself, move forward. I did not know how to move forward in a direction that felt right to me, that came from an aligned place before this. Maybe that's a little too black and white, but this is what helped me figure out how to just function on the most basic of levels from a place that actually felt good. Whereas before, my mind and emotions and energy was so clouded by everybody else's opinions, what's happening in the world right now, cultural trends and fads, like you name it. So much of that colored everything I believed about myself, about the world, what was possible, what I should do, what was right, what was wrong. And it was really, of all things, learning coaching skills that helped me unlock that I am this free, sovereign human. And I get to choose who I am. I get to choose what feels good. I get to choose what I believe in. And that's so revolutionary to me. It's the most freeing thing I've ever done. And it's so interesting that that freedom came through learning how to give it to others. But, I think you hear that sometimes. If you want something for yourself, figure out how to give it away to others. And it's so cliche, but it's so true. Like learning how to hold space for others to do that is the process that wired me to do that for myself. And very selfishly, that's the thing. That's the most valuable thing for me that ever came out of any of this. That's the piece I would never trade ever. And every moment of coach training and coaching others and teaching others, it's also worth it just for what it's given me personally on the inside.
I always say that coaching is not something you do, it's someone you become. And this embodiment of the mind of a coach is what's so transformative. That's the piece that can't be taught from a PowerPoint slide or lectures or perfect this skill or perfect the way you ask this question. And that's why the MRA is built on such richness in the student's personal growth. You can only go as deep with another as you're willing to go within yourself. And so the foundation of how we train our coaches is their capacity to go within and learning world-class coaching skills. That duo of learning world-class coaching skills and living a deeply examined life, that's the magic formula of excellence in coaching.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah. I was having a one-on-one with a student a couple days ago, and she's very successful in the corporate world, not related to coaching, but just successful corporate. She just recently got a promotion and she's a VP, and she's really excited to start integrating a lot of the coaching skills into the type of training that she offers her teams and, all of the people they serve. And she said, what she knows now for sure is there is no professional development without personal development. And that is what she wants to integrate into everything else she's doing. And she's really excited to take like this deep personal work, these coaching skills to support people on their professional journeys. Yes, but first starting with like the human, like their personal journey. And because she's experienced for herself, and like we've all experienced, what's possible for you professionally or in the outside world, that blossoms beyond belief when you are happy and aligned and blossoming inside of yourself. That's when all of the outside possibilities open up.
When you're coaching, no one is in charge, but everyone is in charge. And for me, growing up, I had this conditioning that I always needed to know. I always had to have the solution, figure it out. Helping people, for me, was synonymous with fixing people and rescuing them. And when I did my coach training, one of the fundamental shifts was learning that the most helpful thing I can do is to hold them whole and help them draw out their own wisdom. And that the most important thing for me to do was to listen, and to listen authentically, and to ask open, curious questions. And it had nothing to do about what I thought or what advice I would give. And so it took enormous pressure off of my shoulders to be the way I'd always been conditioned to be, the responsible one, the smart one, the one who is just so reliably always got the solution. And that's not what this is about. And so it was just a fundamental shift, not only in my relationships, where I was no longer putting myself up, if you imagine a ladder, up a rung or down a rung. In the coaching conversation, we are equals. And there's a co-creative energy there. And what happened for me and my energy was it also right-sized, because there's a lot of energy that's wasted or leaking out when you're trying to figure out things for someone else. And so my energy went into being present and asking honest questions and really getting to know this person in front of me, instead of feeling like I must save them and it's all up to me. And when I took that skill into my home life, into my relationship as a mom, as a wife, it also transformed the way that I relate to my husband and my son. I'm not looking at them like they are expecting me to have the solution and to figure things out for them. I am holding them in highest regard, that yes, this is uncomfortable, and I know you'll figure out your next best step. And I'm here to be a mirror. I'm here to support and encourage you. But what a relief to feel like I'm not responsible for you, though. And one of the values, a few of the values in the ICF core competencies of training is partnership and agreement. You'll see that over and over again in the core competencies. And partnering and agreement, to me, is not someone else is in charge. And it's not about dominating conversations. It's not about advice giving. And I think there is space for that. We all have lived experience and wisdom and offerings, but to do it in a way where it's not an expectation set up to become a resentment, it's an offering. And we are equal in the conversation. And now I find it very uncomfortable when I'm having conversations and I feel that the person I'm talking to wants to fix me and wants to give me advice, and I can tell they're not holding me whole.
Okay, so obviously we're a little bit biased and we love we love our school, and we believe so deeply in and wholeheartedly in the quality of what we offer at the Mind Rebel Academy. However, there are so many different people in the world looking for so many different things, and we're not the right fit for everybody. So I'm curious what each of you would say to somebody who was looking for a coaching school, wanted to become a coach. What would you suggest to them to look for in order to find the right fit for them?
Take your time and look for a school that deeply resonates with you. So many of our students have told us that when they land on our website, they feel like they've come home. And when I hear our students or alumni say that to us, I think, yeah, we are the right energetic match for that human. We're not going to be the right energetic match for every human, but the ones we are for are the ones who feel like they belong here. They feel like they were called here. And I think that's a really important, that you feel this sense of deep resonance in the school that you choose. Don't choose a school just to get your schooling done quick and over with. Don't do that. If you look at coaching as coaching is not something you do, it's someone you become, you choose a school that helps you also not just learn the skills, but choose a school that's going to help you in the becoming and the embodiment of what it means to be a coach.
Miranda, what would you tell someone?
I would tell them to trust themselves. I would encourage them to believe in what feels authentic, in what speaks deep into their own inner knowing, to be really curious, as Taryn was saying, taking your time, exploring different coaching schools, sitting in your body and feeling, what does this one feel like? What does that one feel like? Um, Bringing your values forward, like what matters most to you right now? What season of life are you in right now? How does this need to work for you? And so it's less about another certification or box to check off just so you can get the piece of paper. It's integrating it into your life. How can this fit and work for you? For me personally, I would look for an ICF accredited school. To me, it's really important as a coach for my credibility that I have standards behind my training, a reference point for me to look at and know, okay, I am in the coaching arena. It's important to me to know I'm doing a really good job. Integrity means a lot to me. And so does community. And so looking at, okay, what's there in terms of support? Are there other people like me there? Can I see parts of myself in what I'm looking at? And also a place where you feel like you can ask whatever is on your heart, whatever questions you have, that you don't need to be somebody else to be a part of the school, that you can be yourself, that you don't need to shut anything down, you don't need to feel like you're not enough. And yeah, just that sense of belonging. And also feeling like this is going to challenge me because there's no real growth in the comfort zone, right? And so seeing like, okay, I see where I am today. I see where this can go, what this can give to me. And I'm excited about this expansion and about learning new skills. And so exploring what might feel a little bit uncomfortable and stretchy. We say it terrifies your mind but stirs your soul. That feeling where it's like, this is really exciting and it's not like anything I've ever done before. I feel like I'm at home and I feel like I can grow here.
Michelle, anything to add?
I agree with both of you so much. If someone came to me and asked what they should look for in a coaching school, I would first say, come check out our coaching school. It's really good. What I love? What I love about us is, like I was saying earlier, I felt like this was a place that would accept all of me, like all of me as a human, a very, very sensitive human, a very, very emotional human. And so to me, because not everyone's as sensitive or as emotional as me, but that is really important. And I love that someone who is really sensitive and really emotional can navigate those realities here. I think that's so important. And at the same time, I'm so proud of the high quality and integrity of our alignment to the ICF core competencies, the integrity and the intentionality behind the way we teach, the way our program is structured, the way we run our coaching labs, the way the master classes are delivered. Like, so much thought and intentionality has gone into being in alignment and in integrity with such important principles. The way we deliver to help people actually integrate on all levels, intellectually, emotionally, practically, experientially. So I love that we have that full spectrum of things. And I would never want to be somewhere without that. So that would be the first thing to offer to someone, is just to say that that's possible. I'm sure we're not the only school who is exceptional in that way, but that's one thing I would look for. tell them to look for. I so agree with taking your time, and there doesn't need to be a rush. If you want to become a coach for any reason, whether it's because this is your vocation or whether just your soul is calling you to become a coach to support family, friends, other communities that you're a part of. If it's really meant to be, that's a calling that's not going to go away. It's going to be there. You can take your time and find the right place for you. There's no rush. I wholeheartedly agree. Check out a million schools, check out all the websites. Wholeheartedly agree with what you said, Miranda, about like trusting your instincts, trusting your body. How does it feel in your body when you're on their website? When you speak to someone from the program, how does that person feel to you? What values does the school seem to hold? Like, what's the organization's values? Do they align to your values? That's so important, I think. Being honest with yourself up front probably will save you a lot of heartache down the road. Being really honest with what's in alignment for you before getting into it is probably, so helpful. And the last thing coming to me is, it's really funny because generally in life, I'm not one for structure and rules and certifications. Like, I'm just generally not. Very often I love hearing the stories of people who never went to university, maybe never even graduated high school, and they just were successful. I love those stories. I love when people say, instead of getting a degree, I read book after book and I listened to podcast after podcast after podcast, and like, I figured it out. I think that is so empowering in every realm of life. And generally that's the way I lean. And shockingly, after getting to actually experience and learn about the core competencies and all of the markers and the structure the ICF has created and laid out, I am such a fan. And I am so shocked that I am such a fan of such a detailed, structured framework, because generally that's not me. But I think why I'm such a fan of this structure is that the structure feels, in every piece of the structure, in every piece of, I don't even want to call them the rules, but the core competencies and the markers and what they teach, every piece feels so honoring and respectful and inclusive of every human being. This structure and this framework actually makes me feel more personally expansive. This structure creates more possibility instead of restricting possibility, which is so cool. It's like a paradox where these brilliant people, I don't know how long the ICF's been along, but it's been a while. And I know that the people who have contributed to the ICF and the core competencies and the markers, I know they come from a wide variety of backgrounds. So all of this wisdom and experience and genius have come in. And what they've managed to do is create a framework that actually protects an individual's autonomy, sovereignty, freedom of choice, freedom of expression. And that is actually the function of the structure, not to impose something on you that's artificial and doesn't fit, but they create a structure to protect your unique energy, your unique personality, which is so brilliant. I could never have come up with that. But once I experienced it, it feels so good and so safe and so expansive. And it's hard to describe the energy and feeling that coaching in this way creates unless you've experienced it. And I would just highly recommend anybody who wants to be a coach, or for those people who are already coaching but yearning just for something, even if you don't know what, taking it to the next level, I would highly recommend going to a school that is accredited with the ICF, and feeling what these core competencies feel like, I think they are so incredibly powerful.
Michelle, you reminded me of one of the things that is really important when we talk about how generally adults learn, and the most effective, efficient way is by doing. And so when you are looking for a program, look for programs designed with a lot of practices where you get to exchange with your peers, you get to experience coaching inside of the program, so that when you've completed your program, you've already experienced using that skill and practicing it with mentorship, with feedback. And so what I love about how our program is designed is there is so much opportunity to practice and to get to work right away. You get to try new things in the brave spaces of the curriculum. You get to bring your practice conversations in for mentorship. And so, yeah, really looking for schools that offer opportunity to practice by doing and to learn by doing. And, we offer a peer coaching engagement where you coach each other and then you switch, and there's rich opportunity to practice these skills before you've even completed the program. And so that really can escalate your confidence when you finish the program, having already tried it. Um, and then with the mentor call component of our program, where you get to submit calls for review and receive real-time feedback. Here's where you can tweak that. Here's where you can be more in alignment with this core competency. And then you get to try again, and you get to be messy, and you don't need to have it all figured out and be perfect. That's not the expectation. It's to try and get messy, make the mistakes, and yeah, have an open mind with it, with yourself. And, inside this program or any program, feeling that there's grace there, where perfection, it's not about perfection, it's progress, not perfection, because you have your whole life to become a coach. You have every life experience yet on your path to help you expand the space you hold. And so it's not a one and done, one shot, quick, rip the band-aid off. If there was something like that, I would feel like it was a red flag. Something quick, cheap, I would steer away from that, because there's so much to learn, and it's a slow game. It's a slow but very thorough and high standard, high integrity, step by step. It's not something to be rushed. As you're learning, you're integrating these skills into your life. And life will have a way of meeting you and offering you different practice fields and different situations where you get to put these principles into practice, not only in the program, but in your everyday life while you're in the program. And being part of a community of other people also going through this process, you get to share what's coming up for you, and you don't feel alone, like it's just you and your computer screen and the slides. It's real time, seeing other people and connecting.
You know what you're making me think of? It took me like at least 3 months to actually learn how to consistently floss my teeth every day. You know what I mean? If it takes months to integrate a very simple habit that doesn't, have much mental integration, it's just about like becoming that person who actually is choosing to do that every day. If that took me 3 months, how can you become a coach in 4 or 5 days? Things I yeah, things take time. Skills need to be consistently practiced. Muscles, brand new coaching muscles, need to be strengthened regularly to really allow a process of real learning, not a couple ideas that you think sound great and then you forget, but actually integrate new learning and develop new habits of interacting with people. And yeah, it takes a little time.
Yeah, we're essentially rewiring our brains to be able to hold space and have conversations in this way, to be able to sit and honest curiosity and catch yourself when you go into that fixing mode. These are ways that some of us have been our whole life, and we're inviting you to try a different way over and over and over again.
Mm.
So, for people who don't know what the ICF is, the ICF is short form for the International Coaching Federation, and it is the world's largest professional coaching organization. So their mandate is really to uphold the integrity of the profession of coaching. So they're the world's largest governing body for coaching schools like the MRA who are accredited under their umbrella, and for coaches who want to become accredited coaches through the ICF. So when I was first creating the MRA, I had a decision to make. Am I just going to teach the Mind Rebel coaching methodology, or am I going to teach people how to be a world-class coach under the umbrella of the International Coaching Federation? And I decided to go all the way because it matters. Understanding these core competencies and being trained to this gold standard of coaching changes the game, elevates your skills to a level I didn't even know was there when I was dabbling in coaching before training. Right. And to be able to, learn these core competencies of coaching, learn and hone your skills in the craft of coaching, in the true art form of coaching, and also to know, like, what is the coaching arena? And how do I know I'm in the coaching arena? How do I keep conversations in the arena? And how do I know when a conversation is actually outside of my competency level as a coach, which is really important to learn, to know, to practice safety in coaching conversations with others. There is a competency level that we are trained to. And outside of that competency level, someone is better served by a therapist or another healing practitioner that has the competency for that particular topic or that particular thing that a client is going through. So understanding that is really, really important, both for the client and for me as the coach, so that I'm not taking things on my shoulders that I should not be carrying as a coach, and that I'm practicing safety in the coaching arena.
One of the things I love about the ICF is that it's evidence driven. The models that they come up with for their core competencies come from evidence collected from thousands of coaches. And this model, it's been recently updated in 2019, has been around for over 25 years. So it's sound and wise. Like, it's very thoughtful, and there's so much emphasis on ethical behavior and just how important this ongoing reflective practice is, and safety, trust, intimacy, keeping things client centric. And also this awareness of who this person is in front of you. Like, there are influences, whether they're cultural, contextual. So this encouragement to really explore and expand beyond your perspective of whoever it is in front of you, and really get to know them without judgment. And again, you're not the expert in this person's life. You're the expert in how to hold the space, how to listen, how to ask questions, how to have deep and meaningful conversations. And so what I love about the coaching arena is that it's been defined by the ICF through what other coaches have been experiencing for decades. And more recently, when they did their most recent update, it was based on globally, what are coaches experiencing? What defines safety in a coaching conversation? It's not about what I think of you. It's about who this person is and what they define as success, where they want to go. They determine the agenda. It's not up to me to even decide for them what their next best step is. And so, when it comes to keeping this trauma informed way of showing up in mind, what I love about the core competencies is it guides you to where coaching ends and maybe some other profession begins, like therapy or other mental health experts that need to step in. But we do have a place inside the coaching arena for holding space for these deeper emotions. And what I love about our curriculum, about the core competencies, is they help guide you how to stay in that while establishing trust and intimacy and safety in a way that ideally would do no harm.
On a more practical level, depending what you want to do with your coaching, perhaps you want to use your coaching with your children, with your friends, with your church group, with your support group. And it may seem, on the surface, a credential isn't absolutely necessary for that. And, you may or may not be right. However, if you are leaning towards becoming an entrepreneur and having a coaching business, and if you want to coach in the corporate world, if you want to be involved in corporate contracts, government contracts, an ICF certification can be really logistically valuable. There's a trend that's already started that I imagine is going to continue. Certain companies are starting to give their employees benefits, like money and benefits towards life coaching. So, however, most of them stipulate it's ICF certified life coaching. When companies are looking for corporate coaches, I think it's almost completely ICF certified coaches, getting into getting government contracts, that sort of thing. Again, ICF certified coaches. And it's not required to become an ICF certified coach. It's not the same as therapy right now. It technically is an unregulated industry. So right now you are opting into this ICF certification. But as time goes on, again, no one can predict the future, but as time goes on, I imagine that in the business world in general, I imagine that ICF certification is going to become more and more important over time. If you are an entrepreneur and you're happy to coach anyone, you own your own business, in 5, 10, 15 years, who knows? People might have, if you're an ICF certified coach, they might have benefits to use towards your services, which just wildly expands your clientele and serves your business. So even aside from the integrity and quality of the education, just logistically, that ICF certification, I think, is really valuable and will continue to become more and more valuable.
Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. If you are drawn to the MRA, it's more than likely that you are the go-to person for your people. You are here to deeply impact the lives of those you love and serve. And the MRA's mission is to support you in your life's work. To learn more about our suite of trainings, including our renowned flagship coach training, leadership trainings, and continuing coach education programs, please visit our website at www.themindrebel.com.